Hello and welcome to the Footy Accumulators betting show with me, Will Perry, and the finest pundit and betting expert in the land. They couldn't actually make it today, so we brought in Alan McInally and James Vickers. Boys, so much to talk about since we were last together. I want to start with Jack Grealish because there's a lot of chat that he's going to head to Manchester United this summer, and other teams have been linked with him as well, the likes of Chelsea, but United seems to be the one. Firstly, Al, how good is he? I was talking to Tim Sherwood the other day, and he obviously gave him his Villa debut and was a big part of his life when he was at Aston Villa. He thinks that he, in time, could be up there with Europe's elite. Do you go along with that?
Europe's elite. Listen, he's a really good football player. He still frustrates me because he wears his socks at his ankles. I don't like that. But then he's young and sort of hip and trendy, and that's the way it is.
Mate, with calves like that, I think he's allowed to do that, isn't he?
Oh, plus I had calves like that when I was 4. Do me a favour. Yeah, he's a wonderful football player. The top elite, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But he's almost like he's a free-flowing football player. I think you need to play him in a team where he kind of has his own. He goes where he wants to go and tries to. I mean, to be absolutely honest with you, I didn't think he played particularly well against Manchester United the other night. Although Villa are properly against the wall, and it's going to be difficult for him to carry the team on his own. That would be unfair to point that to Jack Grealish. But I do think he'll leave Villa, unfortunately for Aston Villa. Top elite in Europe, I don't know. I think time obviously will tell. I hope he does. I mean, I like to watch Jack Grealish. And it'll be interesting to see where he does go. I know that we've all spoken about this, and Man United seems to be his supposedly preferred destination. But I think there'll be another few teams that'll be interested in taking Jack because he is a very, very talented individual.
Yeah, James, could you blame him for leaving if Villa even stay up or go down? Either way.
I think if they go down, definitely he needs to leave. He's far too good for the Championship. Obviously, been a Villa fan, he'd like to stay there if they do stay up, but I think with where Villa are at, where he's at in terms of his development, I think it makes sense for both parties. If I was a Villa fan, I wouldn't begrudge him leaving. He could have left a few years ago, and credit to him, he stayed with them when they dropped into the Championship, got them back up. There was all that talk. I think it was when they had Hull away, when they'd just been relegated, that he was going to Tottenham. He stayed and he's kicked on and really developed himself. He's a lot better now than he was then, so that's credit to him, how he's got his head down and worked. But yeah, if he was to leave in the summer, I don't think any Villa fans could begrudge him for leaving.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you talk about age and still developing, Al, when you go back to your days, he's 24, but he started so young, didn't he? And he's had such a sort of important, pivotal role in that Villa team, but clearly still improving at that age, yeah?
No question, absolutely, and he will improve when he goes to a better team. With the great respect to my team, Aston Villa. You know, they don't have a player really as talented as Jack Grealish, and defensively they look poor. I know Tyrone Mings is the great hope, but I've said to you in this show before and on Sky, I don't get the thing with Tyrone Mings. He doesn't seem to sniff danger enough early for me. And to say he's a leader, I'm not seeing an awful lot of that. I think with Jack, on the other hand, I think he is a bit of a leader. I think he does have more of a team ethic in his head rather than individualistic, although he is quite an individual player. And like I said before, he kind of goes and does his own thing, but certainly developing for sure. Goes to a better team, you might just see a better Jack Grealish. And I don't see him being too much of a maverick like some of the players we've seen before, that, you know, it's really all about him. And I think he would fit in well to one of the bigger teams, or I shouldn't really say one of the bigger teams, one of the better teams with better football players in them, and he will flourish in that.
Well, let's just pretend then that he heads to Manchester United, goes to Old Trafford this summer. You look at the way they're playing, Greenwood, Rashford, Martial, Pogba, Fernandes, all in the form that they're in. And, you know, you throw in potentially Jadon Sancho there as well. Where does he fit in, James?
I'd say, looking at it, I think his best position, Grealish, when I've watched him, is sort of in that number 10 role. I think there's going to be no way that he can nudge Fernandes out of that at the moment. So the question is then, did he play him as a free, Pogba, Fernandes, Grealish? I don't think so. I think that leaves them too open at the back, United, because they don't have that deep lying midfielder if they play that way. So I think he'd have to fill in one of those forward areas, potentially coming in off the left, whether that means Rashford misses out or Rashford moves centrally and Martial drops out. But I think what that gives Solskjaer then is a lot more depth than he's got now. The starting 11 for United, with the exception of defence, that midfield and forward line is getting there for where they want to be in terms of challenging. So having Grealish come in and only add another depth to that, and I think he's head and shoulders better than players like Lingard, Pereira, Mata even, who they have to bring off the bench at the moment. So I think at the start, he may not get into the starting 11, but I think definitely with the way he's developing, there is potential there for him to force his way into that front three at the expense of probably Martial or Rashford.
Yeah, and Al, look, Manchester United fans would say, this is Manchester United. We'll have players. If we want players, we'll have them. Look at going back to 99 and that treble winning team. They had strikers coming out their ears, didn't they? And I know formations have changed and so on. But the counter to that is that someone like Jack Grealish, wherever he goes, is going to want to start every week because that's what he's been used to.
Yeah, and that will be something he'll have to deal with. I was fortunate in my career. I played with Glasgow Celtic, Aston Villa and Bayern Munich. And every single time you trained, you were thinking, if I don't do well Monday to Friday, I ain't playing on a Saturday because everybody's so good. And that's what Jack Grealish will have to contend with, because if he does go to Manchester United, there is no opportunity to put your gloves down and think, I'll definitely play Saturday. James has just said Rashford, Martial. What? Martial still frustrates the life out of me. And has he got 20 goals, 19 goals? He's had a good season. But even last night, he comes off and he looks miserable. I mean, he's at Manchester United, for God's sakes. Having said that, got taken off, you're not going to be happy about it. Rashford has, and I've said before, has carried Manchester United by scoring goals for the last year and a half, and he's only a young boy. And I think he's going to get better. He's not replacing Fernandes, he's not replacing Pogba, and he's not replacing Matic, and he's not replacing Greenwood, because Greenwood's the best finisher at Manchester United that I'm fed up telling everybody about. But he will be a good addition to Manchester United if he ends up there. And I would probably say, if I was picking the team now and everybody was fit, it would be Pogba is back to being almost humble when I saw him do an interview. I mean, he was fantastic, rather than it's all about me. But I'd play him. I'd play Grealish, Fernandes, Greenwood, or Rashford, and Greenwood up top because he can score goals. And then it's between Matic, McTominay, and Pogba in those deep-lying positions. But he would be a lovely addition for Manchester United. There's no question about that. And for a few other clubs as well.
I'll tell you what, James, God have mercy on my soul for saying nice things about Manchester United, but you throw him into the mix, that is quite a lineup of players that they've got to choose from. That they will be thinking that they can compete for the title, won't they, if they sign the likes of Grealish and Sancho in the summer? Yeah,
I think, as I said, already adding to that creative line that they're getting now. Alan's touched on Greenwood over the last few shows. I think he's absolutely fantastic and only going to get better. Same with Rashford. I think Martial's probably going to get better as well. The way that he's now feeding off Fernandes and Pogba been somewhere back to his best as well. So it's only going to benefit them in those four areas. I think challenging for titles are probably a defender or two short at the moment. Probably another left back and another centre back, definitely. And then obviously they've got Henderson to come back as well, which I think in turn will actually improve De Gea if he's got some serious competition for a player that's used to starting week in, week out. So that'll make him get back to near his best. But yeah, I think United next season will definitely need to talk about them in certainly top four and potentially challenging for the title.
I don't want to, just to interrupt, James, I want to throw one in here. Do you think Manchester United would be interested in getting Harry Kane?
If I was United, definitely. I think
I'm just throwing it in there because I'm like, Spurs look miles away. Kane looks as if he's. I don't know. I'm just thinking. I think he might be right now to be nicked away from Spurs.
I think definitely. Yeah, I think obviously Martial and Rashford both sort of 20 odd goals now this season. Kane though guarantees you that 25, 30 if he can stay fit, and that's the only sort of asterisk with Kane that I'd have. Can he stay fit? The last 2 years or so, he's been really disruptive with injuries. If they keep him fit, they get him, by all means, yeah, I think they'd be snapping your hand off to get him because he would probably complete that jigsaw in the front areas. And I think if they do get Kane, they may not go for Sancho with the rate that Greenwood's developing, and he can play out on that right wing as well.
Right, I want to discuss the three infamous letters which some send shivers down the spines of football fans across the UK. VAR, the Premier League saying that they got incorrect penalty decisions in the three games on Thursday involving Bruno Fernandes, James Ward-Prowse and Josh King. Look, at least they've come out and said that they've got it wrong, which I guess is something. Overall then, Al, has VAR in its debut season been a success in the Premier League?
No. End of. No. I thought it clear and obvious decisions. And listen, some of them, obviously, they looked at it and thought, yeah, that's not right. The offside rule for me is a complete and utter joke.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if your big finger is that side of a line, it's offside. I'm just not having it.
But what are you not having about that, Al? Because if you're offside, aren't you? If there's any scoring part.
Well, no, I'm not having that. I'm not having it. What is it? First phase, second phase, third phase? So you can stand in the box, the ball goes wide, who the guy runs onto who's not offside. You then come back onside, and then you go and you head it in, and you've... What's all that about? That's a joke.
So how do we
get
fix
100
that?
goals if you could do that?
What do you do then? Go back to daylight? What do you do? Offside rule.
You go back to daylight, and then everybody knows. Listen, what do you want to see at football? We want to be entertaining. We want to see goals. Right now, you're not getting that. And strikers, by the way, defenders are like that. This is fantastic. All right, I can half understand it, but surely there was nothing wrong the way it was before. I'm sorry. I just and Callum Wilson's overhead kick that hits Josh King's arm and goes in. He never meant that. He never meant that. The other day when the ball was kicked against, I can't even remember who was falling on the ground, hits his arm. So it's that's ridiculous. So I'm on the no side. We've obviously had to have it at the moment to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. And it's not a trial run, but it really is on trial, isn't it? Because we didn't know how it was going to go. But there's been too many got wrong rather than too many get right.
James, is the problem then that actually the technology, which is coming on leaps and bounds, and if we take away and look at goal line technology, that's been a huge success, isn't it? Apart from once after the restart. But the technology is actually evolving quicker than the rules of the game. And that's where the problem lies.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think what hasn't helped is, for someone who watches a lot of Bundesliga, I just can't understand why the referees aren't encouraged to go to the monitors more. They've started doing it in the last couple of weeks. VAR, obviously its description is clear and obvious error that the referee has missed. So why it takes a team of 3 or 4 at Stockley Park to have their opinions and then relay that back to the referee after a 2 or 3 minute break? Surely Stockley Park say, okay, John Moss, you've missed something here. You go and have a look. It's your opinion. You're refereeing this game. If you want to change it, you change it and let him see the monitor. And I just, for the life of me, can't understand. In Germany, it works so much better. And I think with the Premier League, for the entertainment aspect, they tried to go down the route of making it an entertaining thing, of this pause, like a dramatic pause, and it's just not worked whatsoever. And I think if you encourage the referee straight away in his ear, yep, you've missed something, go have a look. If you think you've made an obvious error, change it. If you think it's still as you saw it, leave it. And that'll take, a minute? And it's taking 3 or 4 times the length for that at the moment.
I'm going to ask you both a question here, right? Why is the monitor at the side of the pitch if the referee's not going to use it? Would you both agree that that's really what it's for, the referee?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Okay, you've just asked the question to me, Will, you think VAR is working, right? You just said after the restart, Villa play Sheffield United and the ball goes over the line and his watch doesn't beep, right? Why does VAR not then go, oh, by the way, over the line? If his watch is gone, VAR in a replay can see that it was a goal for Sheffield United. So surely then, VAR, what the hell have we got VAR for if it can't see that as well? To override a watch no beeping. That's why I think something's not right. That can't be right.
I think with incidents and monitors on the sidelines, Mike Riley initially was encouraging referees not to do it and to use the VAR team because he wants them to have their own profile and be part of the game. But look, a perfect example of it was the game when I was WhatsApping you boys at the Arsenal game against Leicester, where Eddie Nketiah was sent off. But before that, and a yellow card was given, Chris Kavanagh encouraged to go over to the sides, have a little look, took 5 seconds, straight red, right decision. We're all happy.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah. Sorry, James, carry on, mate.
I was just going to say, and I can't understand why that's not been done more. There's been red card situations in previous games where it's took 4 minutes to get to that decision. For them looking at it at different angles, you can look at it 10 different angles. It's not going to change the fact that he's gone in over the top of the ball and caught him above the knee. Why that takes someone 4 or 5 minutes to play it from every different angle, I don't know. And why the referee isn't encouraged to go and have a look and make up his own mind.
One quick one from me to both of you. And I'll say as an ex-football player, I think we should have had football player, ex-football player involved in the VAR process. I genuinely do. I think it would help. I know that the laws of the game and referees who know all the laws look at the game. Yes or no? Harry Kane, penalty or not for you yesterday?
Penalty for me.
Penalty for James. Right, okay. So you both said penalty.
Yeah.
And it goes to VAR and they don't give a penalty. You tell me why not.
Well, look, going to your point there, Al, I think because it's something that a lot of ex-players say and journalists and people involved in the game, that you need a player in that booth. I don't know about you guys, but I've sat in that booth in Stockley Park. We had we had to do the course at the beginning of the season, which was really useful. Obviously, so much has changed since then. But you're sitting next to a screen. You've got on a match day, they'd have an editor next to them. So say Kevin Friend is the VAR official, and then on a match day where we've got 3 o'clock Prems kickoff on a Saturday, you'd have them all in one room. If you then throw another player in, an ex-player in, does that not slow down the process even more? That in the stands we're waiting. It becomes more of a fast. That you've got more of a discussion then and an argument, and you can't agree on something.
Yeah, maybe you would have more of an objective view to the law of the game, which might not help. You're right. My point's not really that we need a football player. I just mean in context of being in that particular position. I still don't understand then why the VAR or the referee or whoever was overseeing it at Stockley Park can't see that Kane is headering the ball and he is impeded and pushed to the ground. How is that not a penalty? So they're not getting that right. But you, Will, have just said it's a penalty. So you aren't an ex-football player, although you were very good. I heard you were very good on a Sunday. You're still saying it's a pen. So I don't understand how the Stockley Park or VAR can't go, by the way, Kane was pushed in the back. He was going to header the ball. It's a penalty. I mean, That's why I think VAR has got things so wrong. And that's why I think there's a massive split decision on it.
Yeah, but is this not the beauty and the beast of the game, James? That it's so subjective that, like, even we've all agreed on that because that seems sort of clear and obvious, which is the ironic use of the words. But we then are going to be in a situation where there's too much subjectivity, and that was the whole point of VAR, to take away the subjectivity. And the whole point of that dreaded line which comes onto the screen, which Al hates when you're looking at offsides, of look, your toenail is offside, it's a scoring part. There we go. I mean, how do we not want to? We've trusted technology with goal line technology. Why aren't we trusting it with other decisions? But then still there are going to be choices left to subjectivity.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I was saying. I think it should be the referee's decision solely. Obviously, no decision everyone's going to agree with, unless it's a blatant, like Luis Suarez in the World Cup, punching it clear on the goal line handball. If it's something that obvious, obviously everyone's going to agree. But if you have one person making the final decision, rather than one person, the referee, giving it, and then 3 or 4 people disallow it, that's 4 opinions you've got there. If it solely lies on the referee, there can be no arguments. He's not had his mind changed by someone else in his ear, and I think that'd be the way to go with that.
Yeah, there we go. Look, we're always going to have grey areas, and I guess that's part of the beauty of the game, as I said before. Look, no grey area in terms of the Nap Challenge this week. It's all square. Can you believe it? Who would have thunk it? At 5-all, McInally has only gone and levelled it, having been ahead, James Vickers, for months and months. James had a 5-3 lead last week, but Alan won his game in hand. Spurs winning against Everton. James then went for Wolves to beat Sheffield United. Chris Wilder's side getting a late victory at Bramall Lane. And then Alan's only gone and levelled it with a Watford win at home to Norwich. So what have each of you sticking your 20 quid on this week to trigger your £5 free bet and start your bet streak on the Betfair exchange? Look, you're choosing from Sunday's fixtures in the Premier League and the Championship. And Al, I'll tell you what, because you've levelled it, you can go first for the first time ever.
Well, 7-4 apparently they are. Arsenal to go to Spurs and win. Oh boy, I thought Spurs were. Yeah, I listen. Spurs are not a bad team, but going forward, I mean, Sergio Aurier, honest to God, if he passed the ball back or sideways one more time, I was throwing the telly through the window. I'm like, get forward, go forward. All the best teams, they go forward, they create chances. Harry Kane was actually behind Toby Alderweireld a couple of times, or Vertonghen, whoever it was. I mean, it was unbelievable. Anyway, I ain't seen anything from Spurs. I think Arsenal will beat them. I really do.
Okay, so you're going for an Arsenal win in the North London derby at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's bold. I like that one, which leaves you, James, with either Wolves Everton, Villa Palace, Bournemouth Leicester in the Prem, or Stoke Birmingham, Swansea Leeds in the Championship.
I'm going to go Swansea Leeds. I'm going to go Leeds to win. Off the basis, Leeds, fantastic form, top of the league. If they win all their games between now and when they play Derby County, who they had that history with last season, they get promoted by beating Derby County. And what a way for Leeds to sort of wrap up that last sort of 18 months or so with that rivalry that's developed there. So I think they'll be desperate to win this. And I think going back to me throwing away that lead, that's come from me supporting Preston and Dortmund, two teams that start like a house on fire and then bottle it towards the end of the season. I'm worrying. So, yeah, I'm going to go Leeds. I think, they'll have a bit too much for Swansea. Should be quite an entertaining game, though, looking at it on the face of things. But, yeah, I think Leeds will be desperate to get promoted, and to do it at Derby, it'd be even better for them.
Okay, so Al going Arsenal in the North London derby, and James going for a Leeds win at Swansea in the Championship. Remember, if you're looking for additional stats and trends ahead of this weekend's Premier League Championship action, go and download the Footy Accumulators Betting Hub app. Check out the smart acca function. Remember, you've got to be 18 plus to gamble. And as always, please bet responsibly. Match in focus this week, boys. North London derby. Lots to talk about with that one. Arsenal 8th, Spurs 9th, 10 points and 9 points off the Champions League spots. 4 games to play. They both had a shocker, Al, haven't they?
Both have been very disappointing. I think Arsenal are going through a period right now where, and you've got to say that Mikel Arteta is, I'm fortunate enough to know him. He's a nice guy. He's kind of likeable, Mikel Arteta. And I don't know a lot of the dissenters that don't wish him all the best, apart from if you're a Spurs fan, I suppose. But I think he's done okay there. I genuinely do. He needs to make sure he tries to keep Aubameyang, and he needs to genuinely bring in 2 top defenders. And I think that'll be high on his list. But you've got to say there's been a little better performances from Arsenal, I thought. Whereas on the Spurs side, I think most times we'd agree that there's a reflection of the character of the manager on the football team. And right now, I'm seeing quite a negative Spurs team and a little bit more expansive play from Arsenal, to be honest.
Yeah, Jose walked out of his virtual press conference as well, which is a new thing, isn't it, in the times that we're in at the moment. Is he going to walk out on another club this summer or get pushed out, James?
I don't think he'd walk. I think he's a bit too proud for that. Pushed out by the board, potentially, if they miss out on Europe. But as I said last week, I think they'll give him time to have a few transfer windows to get players in. He's still, for the most part, working with someone else's squad. Will he be there next season? I'd say at the moment it's 50-50 with the way it's going. You know, Lloris and Heung-min Son, 2 players that I wouldn't expect it from, sort of arguing and being pulled apart on the pitch. So something clearly is not right there. But I think a couple more players in, they desperately need to replace Eriksen for that creativity, get 1 or 2 new defenders in, and they won't be too far away. I just think that squad's in desperate need of a refresh at the moment. So I think he probably will be there next season, but there's a lot of work to do in between.
So you're both saying that Arsenal and Spurs both need a couple of defenders. When you look at it from Arsenal's point of view, which is probably more pressing, isn't it, from a centre-back point of view, Al, as you just mentioned, like some of the names that are coming into my head. I mean, I know James wouldn't want to see him leave Dortmund, but Zagadou, there'll be a lot of people after Zagadou, won't there, as a centre-back. And Arsenal have tried before to get John Stones. I mean, what other names could he throw in the mix? Arteta knows him really well from his City days. City probably had enough of John Stones. Would that be a good fit?
Yeah, I think so. I think Mikel Arteta would take John Stones as well. And I think John Stones, more importantly, would move to Arsenal if he left somewhere like Manchester City, where he has, of course, had lots of success under Guardiola. But I think the problem is with Guardiola with John Stones, although he played the other night there, and it was an easy night for them after all, wasn't it? They weren't put under too much pressure. I don't think he trusts John Stones as much as maybe what he used to. And he was going to be the big thing when he came into the team in the first place. But I think Mikel Arteta would be delighted to get John Stones, and I think more importantly, John Stones would go to Arsenal. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I watched a Spanish game the other night there, and I can't remember. I'm sorry, I apologise. I can't remember the boy's name. He was different class. I can't remember. It was Atletico Bilbao I was watching, and I was thinking he must, and Arsenal must have scouts all over Europe. So there's going to be a name that maybe none of us are particularly au fait with at the moment, that Mikel Arteta will be touting to the board to try and bring, I would think.
Yeah, right. Let's. We did this last week, didn't we, with an Arsenal-Leicester combined 11, which was probably a little bit easier to do than this one, a North London derby, combined 11. Like, I'm going to kick it off and be really cheeky, and I'm going to throw Martinez in goal because I do not fancy Leno or Lloris. Are you boys going to agree with that? I don't think I'm going to get that bill passed, am I?
Oh, I think it's a toss of a coin for me. Leno in the first half of the season, I thought was pretty good for Arsenal. He was one of their better players while they were on that poor run of form. Lloris may just shade it for me just for the experience he's got in the Premier League, but either of them two and Martinez as well. Even Vorm, who's back up at Spurs, could get thrown in as well, and Gazaniga. Toss of a coin for me, but I'll go Lloris to start off for me.
Yeah, I mean, look, they've both got absolute calamities up the sleeves, Al, haven't they?
Listen, I'm going to go with Lloris because he's won a World Cup, and everybody knows he's not my favourite goalkeeper. And I'm tempted to say, can we play without a goalie? Can we actually do that? But obviously not. So unfortunately, I'm Martinez or Lloris. I need to go Lloris. I mean, he's won a World Cup, and he's a good goalkeeper. But I like a goalie that when the ball's coming over, and we need someone to be shouting from behind, it's the goalkeepers, and I'm coming and I'm punching it. It ain't Lloris, but I'll take him because he's better than the other two.
Same as last week. Let's rattle through it, but I think we'll go 4-4-2, shall we? So we can get Kane and Aubameyang in. We both having Kane and Aubameyang up top.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so let's start then at defensive line. I've gone Tierney, Sanchez, Alderweireld, and I'm struggling for a right back. So I'm going to make Vertonghen play there. What are we all agreeing? If we're going to put Saka in midfield, are we having Tierney as a left back? Al, James?
Yeah, Joe. I want Tierney at left back. What about the boy Martinez up top for Arsenal? Can we play him in a wide? Martinelli, sorry. Martinez, I'm just talking about Martinez, a goalie. Martinelli, can he play left mid? No.
But then when do we get
more of a striker?
Well?
I was going to say we'll play him in there.
James looks more organised. Yeah, I think he's got his team. So what are you going for midfield, James? Oh, sorry, back line.
I'm going to go Tierney left back.
Yeah.
I'm going to go similar to you. I'll go Vertonghen, Alderweireld centre backs, but I'll put Sanchez at right back. Okay. He's quicker than the two of them. I wouldn't have any of the right backs out of the current squad. So I'd force it. I was kind of hoping you'd go for it at the back, so it'd make it a bit easier for me. But yeah, I'll go Sanchez right back just because he's the quickest of the three.
I mean, that's worrying, isn't it? That both of us have just got RB written and couldn't come up with the right back. There we are talking about them needing to sign centre backs. Okay, so look, I'm happy with that. Al, you happy with that? Let's move on to midfield. First name on the team sheet for me, midfield, ahead of Son and the rest of them. Saka, in at left wing. I know he's been playing as a part of a front three, but let's get him into the team. So that leaves us three midfielders. I've got Son, Ceballos, and Lo Celso. Al, what do you think for another three midfielders to complete the team?
I like Lo Celso. I think we're struggling for midfield as well, by the way. I'm being genuine. I'm thinking Harry Winks. No. Guendouzi. No, I'm not a biggest fan. I mean, it's like toss of a coin. I like Sacco. I would put Lo Celso in, James. I think he's done pretty good, actually. And most of the time, he's been a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, not like 5s and 6s.
Yeah, I'd go, Saka and Son wide. I'd go Lo Celso in the middle. Over midfielder, maybe Ndombele. I think the best is yet to come from him, but he's not been particularly good so far.
Don't fancy Ceballos?
I'd have Ceballos. Someone actually on Twitter the other day I saw referred to him as a fidget spinner because he literally just does sort of a 360 little turns and he doesn't actually go anywhere, which I thought was quite funny. So, again, not too much to offer there. I'd go, Ceballos, maybe Torreira if I want sort of a bit more of a defensive-minded midfielder who's got a bit of bite about him, but still on him, I'm not particularly convinced.
I'm really disappointed in Ndombele, by the way, James. Seriously, before, where was he? Was it Lyon or something? He looked absolutely brilliant, getting forward. He looked powerful and really aggressive. And so far, I'm like, go on, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm serious. I'm waiting for him to be so good because I expect him to be so good. And for whatever reason, I'm watching him, I'm thinking, it looks as though he's playing with the reins on. I don't get it. He's not. Tell me the last time he ran into the box, to get forward. I just don't see it in him. And I'm happy for him to be sitting in my team because I'd be saying to him, listen, you get in the box and score some goals or support or or play the ball forward, because at the moment in time, I just ain't seeing it from him. And there's got to be a better football player in there than what we're seeing in Dembele, because I like him.
Well, I'll tell you what, on that note, but on form then, let's get him out of the team. We're not having him, and we'll stick Ceballos in with his performance against Leicester. So we're going to go Lloris in goal, back four, Tierney, Sanchez, Alderweireld, and Tongan, Saka, Son, Ceballos, Lo Celso midfield with Kane and Aubameyang up top. There we go. There's our combined team for the North London derby. And that moves us on, boys. Well, just before we go, quick prediction. North London derby, Al?
1-3.
James?
Arsenal to win.
I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal. I think Arsenal shade it, but I don't think it will be comfortable.
Okay, so both going for Arsenal. I'm going for Arsenal as well. That moves us on to our acca. I wonder if we're going to stick Arsenal in the acca. I'll kick us off again, guys. I can't keep dragging us through this every week. Two winners for me last time: City home to Newcastle, Manchester United at Aston Villa. Who went West Brom derby? Al, that was you, wasn't it? Yeah. So
thank you very much.
Vickers in the blame. Are we blaming Vickers for Spurs? Spurs against Bournemouth?
Absolutely. What have you got to say to yourself?
He's more angry just because I get to pick first and pick the easy two. I can see it. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it again this week. So I've got a feeling that Arsenal are going to win the North London derby. However, I'll kick us off with Liverpool Burnley. Liverpool at home to Burnley. Still, they can get 104 points, and I think that will be big in their mind when it beating City's record from a couple of years ago. And Manchester United at home to Southampton on Monday night. I know Southampton could surprise a few. Ings is probably going to get on the score sheet there, isn't he? But the way that United are going, are you happy with United and Liverpool, gentlemen?
Yep, I'm happy with them. Again, we'll choose an easy two. So
no, I just, the game on Monday night, United Southampton would be a good game. I think it would be a better test for Manchester United. Liverpool to beat Burnley, probably. I mean, there's the manager of the season right there, or Chris Wilder. Seriously, Sean Dyche, what a job he has done at Burnley. Never mind Chris Wilder. I mean, they have spent, honestly, £130 between them on football players, really, and they keep getting results. Amazing. But I'm happy, Liverpool and United. James, give us the number 3.
So I went Leeds on my nap. I'm going to go the other team in the top 2 in the Championship. I'm going to go West Brom at Blackburn. I think West Brom been in good form the last few weeks. Blackburn been a bit hit and miss. West Brom obviously will have one eye over their shoulder on Brentford, who are absolutely flying at the moment. So be desperate to get some more points on the board. After the Blackburn game, they've got Fulham at home, which is going to be really difficult for them. So, I'm going to go West Brom at Blackburn. If you two are happy with that, I'm pretty confident with that one. Yeah,
well, look, I was tipping Blackburn for the playoffs only a couple of weeks ago.
No. I thought they would have. They haven't. They didn't. I think they won the first game, didn't they? And then I think it was Bristol City. They beat 3-1 or something after being behind. And then I thought, I can really see them. Only because they've got a couple of really good players in their team. And I thought there might be, but it just simply does. I'll stop waffling on now, but they certainly haven't been as good as I thought they might be, Blackburn, and I think they're just going to fall short, unfortunately. Now, remind me, who's your football team, James?
Preston North End, unfortunately.
I will pick Preston North End to beat Nottingham Forest for the fourth one in our acca.
Crikey. Forest in the playoffs?
Forest in the playoffs. I'm going for Preston North End at Deepdale to beat Forest for our acca. Any more pressure, James?
I mean, this is solely on Alan's head if it doesn't come in.
Are we serious? Are we allowing this, James?
He's been in good form. He's been in good form, hasn't he, the last few weeks, McAnally, after that.
By the way, hang on a minute. Sheffield Wednesday 1, Preston North End 3.
Yeah, fair play, yeah.
Rest my case.
I hate to open up the case again, but can I just remind you of Luton 0, Reading 5? Oh.
Yeah, but Luton, it was windy and rainy, and there was a lot of, a couple of people were ill and all that kind of stuff. That was, if I'd have known that, I would never have picked Luton. Listen, I'm going for Preston. That result the other day, I watched the game, I watched a bit of the highlights, and I thought they were really, really good. Forest have done really well, but I'm going Preston.
Okay, look, we'll let you have it. I never ever thought I'd hear McAnally say it was rainy and it was windy. And
I know.
Wow.
Not much of this.
So look, there we go. Okay, we're going to go Liverpool to beat Burnley on Saturday, Manchester United to get the win over Southampton on Monday night, then West Brom at Blackburn in the Championship, and Preston to beat Forest. James, what does that do for the price?
So that comes out on William Hill at 13-2.
Okay. 13-2. 13 to 2. Might get that boosted as well. Boys, see you next week. See if we can pull that one off. Remember, if you're looking for those additional stats and trends ahead of this weekend's Premier League and Championship action, go and download the Footy Accumulators Betting Hub app. Check out the Smart acca function. Remember, 18 plus to gamble, and please bet responsibly. See you next time, boys.